Once again, welcome dear students. Myself Geeta Kadam, and today we are going to learn about the second chapter in political science. The name of the chapter is India's Foreign Policy Part 2. Students, in the previous video, India's Foreign Policy Part 1. In that video, we saw the meaning and importance of foreign policy. Beside that, we saw the concept of national interest and relationship between national interest and foreign policy. Beside that, we also saw the factors who influencing the foreign policy. There were the 5 factors who influencing the foreign policy. They were geographical location, political system, economy, national leadership, and administrative factors. These factors were influencing the foreign policy. Now students, in this video, India's Foreign Policy Part 2, we are going to learn about the following points. First point is India's foreign policy, which including Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. The second point is early phase of India's foreign policy. And the third point is first stage of India's foreign policy. Fourth point is the second stage of India's foreign policy. So, let us begin. Now students, let us start with the first point, India's foreign policy. India got independence in 1947, and from then onwards, we started shaping our foreign policy independently. As per the Constitution of India, the directive principles of state policy have laid down guidelines about how to shape the foreign policy. Students, as per the Article 51, the directive principle of state policy lay down the broad framework for the foreign policy. According to it, India should give priority to safeguard international peace and security, then resolve our international problems and disputes by peaceful means. Beside that, we should be maintain friendly relation with other nations and respect international laws. India's foreign policy till now has been developed in these frameworks. Now, what is the provisions of Article 51 that we have to see? As per the Constitution of India, Article 51 of the Indian Constitution gave some provisions for maintaining the foreign policy. So, students, let us see which are the provisions which including in Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. There are the 4 main provisions. First one is to promote international peace and security. Second one is maintain justice and honorable relations between nations. Third one is foster, or we call it expand or to extend respect for international laws and treaty. And fourth one is encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. Arbitration means an independent person or appoint a judge to settle the disputes. So, these are the main provisions as per the Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. Beside that, students, some more objectives of India's foreign policy we can see now. First one is to establish economic and commercial relations with other countries. Students, for achieving the economic development of India, we have to establish economic and commercial relations with the other countries. Second one is not to compromise about the geographical boundaries of the nation. While maintaining the friendly relations with neighboring countries, we ensure that the defense and security of India is not affected. And that's why we should not compromise about the geographical boundaries of our nation. Third one is protect the unity and integrity of the country. And fourth one is protect the interest of Indian citizens who live in other countries. And for that, this responsibility to protect the interest of Indian citizens, this responsibility is fulfilled by the Indian embassies there. Embassies mean, students, the official resident. So, these were the other objectives of India's foreign policy. Now, students, the next point is a review of India's foreign policy. Students, we shall take a review of India's foreign policy into two stages. The period from independence to till 1990 can be considered as a first stage, and the period from 1991 to till date is considered as a second stage. We have to see each stage in detail. But before that, students, we have to see the early phase of India's foreign policy. So, let us see the point early phase of India's foreign policy. This is actually the foundation, or we call it is a background of India's foreign policy. Students, as we know that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he was a father of India's foreign policy. When he was a prime minister, that time he shaped India's foreign policy in the early period. He opposed colonialism through India's foreign policy because India already suffered a lot because of the colonialism. So, we oppose colonialism through our foreign policy. Beside that, Pandit Nehru also took an internationalist position and gave priority to global peace and security. The three things which influenced India's foreign policy in this period. So, let us see which three things were influenced our foreign policy. The first one is peace has always been a central feature of India's foreign policy. Students, we made an effort to understand all international events and developments independently without any pressure from any power. And that's why peace has always been important or central feature of our foreign policy. The second thing who influence our foreign policy is threat, means a danger from China and Pakistan. So, the threat from China and Pakistan were also taken into account. And the third thing is India's foreign policy at this time was insistence or worked on self-reliant or self-dependent. So these three things who influence our foreign policy in this period. See students, in the beginning, India decided to improve his relation with the countries in Asia like China, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, etc. Efforts were taken to cooperate with Asian countries in order to achieve the development and to keep our independence intact. This concept of regional development later expanded to include Africa as well. Means still the continent of Africa, we expanded our concept of regional development. But during the Cold War period, some Asian and African countries they participated in the military pact which led either by America or the Soviet Union. This stopped the process of regional development. After this, countries of Asia and Africa which did not participate in this military pact like our India, they supported the concept of non-alignment. Peace and freedom become the fundamental principles of non-alignment policy. Students, as we know that India also play a very important role in the non-alignment movement. Now, beside that, in this period, India had also faced the conflict with neighboring countries like Pakistan and China. Wars happened between India and Pakistan over the Kashmir question in the year 1947-48 and 1965. Beside that, the third war that happened in 1971 with Pakistan. Pakistan broke apart and independent Bangladesh was created. In the decade of 1970s, there come about some stability in India's foreign policy. India had risen as a powerful regional power in South Asia by conducting nuclear tests in 1974 at Pokhran in Rajasthan. India had also proved her nuclear capability. From 1980s, some changes began to take place. In order to increase cooperation among the South Asian countries, SARC was established. Students, what is mean by SARC? SARC it's an organization. SARC it's an organization which include the different Asian countries. SARC means the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. India initiated a dialogue to improve relations with China. And now India also started interaction with America for cooperation in the field of security. So students, this is the early phase of India's foreign policy. Now we move towards the first stage. First stage of India's foreign policy. And the year was 1947 to 1990. As we know students, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he was the first Prime Minister of our independent India. and he was also known as the father of India's foreign policy. His stand was that India should independently understand the global or international affairs. He followed up with the policy of peace, and for that purpose only, India adopted the policy of non alignment during the Cold War period. India could not join either America or Russia during the Cold War period. As a result, priority was given to maintaining friendly relations with all the nations and taking the help required for the development from different countries. Due to the policy of non alignment, India could get aid or India could get support from both the superpowers, Russia as well as America. Now, students, there was also a lot of press to improving, strengthening India's defense, and the technology required for this was also imported from the country Soviet Union, France, Germany. In this period, India had to face some challenges also. These included the conflict with Pakistan and China. In the year 1965, India faced a war with Pakistan on Kashmir issue, and in the year 1971, India faced the war with again Pakistan with creation of Bangladesh issue. Beside that, in the year 1962, the two countries, India and China, stand in front of each other on the issue of McMahon Line. So, India faced some challenges with the neighboring countries during that stage. India proved her nuclear capability too during the time by conducting the nuclear test in the year 1974 at Pokhran in Rajasthan. India showed their ability in the field of nuclear. So, during the first stage of India's foreign policy, India started to move towards the developing way. Now, the second stage of India's foreign policy, and the period was 1991 to till date, means till today. See, students, India's foreign policy become more comprehensive and more dynamic in the second stage. In the post-Cold War period, the priority no longer remained to political and military relations, which we saw in the first stage. Here, several other dimensions like economy, trade, education, and technology got included in our foreign policy. After 1991, India reduced the government's control over the economy and adopted the free market policy. There was an increase in trade with neighboring countries. Our share in the world trade also increased and increased the rate of our economic growth. Students, in the decade of 1990s, our relations with the South Asian countries like Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam become more stronger. Our trade exchange with the countries like Israel, Japan, China and European Union increased. India became India began to participate in the organizations at the international and regional levels more than before. For example, G20 BRICS these organizations. Students, G20 means a group of 20, collection of 20 of the largest economist countries which formed in the year 1999 for the discussion of economic and financial stability. Now BRICS is the organization who included the five important countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Students, in the second stage of our foreign policy, India's foreign policy, our relations with America also strengthened. Mutual trust grew. India's status rose in the international community. Students, India's nuclear policy is also one of the important part of our foreign policy. Students, as you know the importance of nuclear power for generation of electricity for defense purpose, having understood the importance of that nuclear power, India undertook the nuclear energy program immediately after independence. And for this, India established the Department of Atomic Energy and the Indian Atomic Energy Commission. And the first chairman of the Indian Atomic Energy Commission was Dr. Homi Bhabha. Even though electricity generation was a main purpose behind the program, it also aimed at creating military capability. As a consequence of this, students, we saw that India conducted her first nuclear test in the year 1974 at Pokhran. Now, in the second phase or second stage of India's foreign policy, India built nuclear weapons and conducted the second nuclear test in the year 1998. We have also made missiles carrying nuclear weapons, and the Air Force and the Navy have been enabled for carrying them. Students, now India is a country which has nuclear weapons. But in spite of this, India has been consistently supporting efforts for disarmament, because it is India's position that there should be the peace and security in the world. And peace and security were also included in the main objective of our foreign policy. Students, in this lesson, we saw the concept of foreign policy and national interest. We also saw the India's foreign policy, which including two stages. And we knew that peace and security, on that basis or on that pillar, our foreign policy built. Now students, come to the exercise. Question number 1. Explain with reason whether the following statements are true or false. First question is, Pandit Nehru contributed towards improving Sino-Indian relations. Pandit Nehru contributed towards improving Sino means China. Sino-Indian relations means India-China relation. So the answer is true. Yes, answer is true. Pandit Nehru formulated Panchashil, which was a treatise of five principles. Which five principles? Mutual non-interference in internal affairs, mutual non-aggression, equality of mutual benefit, mutual respect, and peaceful coexistence. On that 5 principles of peaceful coexistence to govern relations between India and China. Pandit Nehru also support China's permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council. So, on that basis, we can say that Pandit Nehru contributed towards improving India-China relation. Now, the second question is, Atal Bihari Vajpayee took lead in improving relations with Pakistan. Yes, the answer is true. In an effort to develop friendly relations, India and Pakistan have started a bus service between Delhi and Lahore when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India. And he also revived the train called Samjhota Express. Atal Bihari Vajpayee rendered help to the earthquake victims of Pakistan during the rule of Pervez Musharraf. Besides that, he also tried to establish a dialogue with Pakistan so many times but was not successful. So, on that point, we can say that Atal Bihari Vajpayee took lead in improving relations with Pakistan. Now, question number 2. Explain the concept. India's foreign policy. And the answer is India got an independence in the year 1947, and from then onwards, India started shaping our foreign policy independently. According to the Article 51, as per the Constitution, among the directive principle of state policy, lay down the broad framework for the foreign policy. And as per this Article 51, India should give priority to safeguard international peace and security and resolve our international problems and disputes by peaceful means. The objectives of our foreign policy should be maintained friendly relation with the other nations and respect our international laws. Thank you.